Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Mia Farrow as Allison Mackenzie, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington.
For many months, Leslie Harrington has been forced to survive in the shadow of his enemy, Martin Peyton. Last night, he learned of trouble in the old man's house. Leslie senses that the key to that trouble may be held by Stephen Cord.
Yes?
Mr. Harrington is here to see you, Mr. Cord.
Tell him to come in, please.
Come in. Sorry to barge in on you, Stephen.
Sit down.
No, thank you. I want to know why my wife's portrait was slashed.
Why come to me?
Let's not waste time, Stephen. You know why I'm here. Rodney tells me it has something to do with this woman, Ann Howard. I want to know if she's capable of doing anything that malicious.
Aren't you the one that's wasting time, Mr. Harrington? What you really want to know is why Mr. Peyton is concerned about this.
More than that, Stephen, I want to know what there is about this woman that's made the old man afraid.
What makes you think I know?
You've spent all these weeks investigating her past.
Correction. I've been investigating an isolated incident. A tragic accident that was part of my past also. Part of this whole town's past.
I won't buy that, Stephen. You've been around the old man enough to sense the change in him since she came back, and you're too good at putting two and two together to confine yourself solely to the accident on the bluff. Now, I want you to tell me everything you know about her.
So you can use it against Mr. Peyton.
Now, don't you start calling the kettle black, Stephen. It was your wife who found the portrait, snooping around in the old man's basement.
Mr. Harrington, we rode the crest of the same wave through Rodney's trial, but that wave hit the beach a long time ago. I don't think we're looking for the same things anymore.
You're wrong, Stephen. We'll always be looking for the same things as long as Martin Peyton's alive.
I'm not so sure I buy that.
You don't have to. It's a fact.
Well, if it is, I've never seen it upset you so much before. You know, you're starting to make me curious. Maybe I should be interrogating you.
I didn't mean it to sound like an interrogation.
Well, you never do, but that's what it is, isn't it? You smell blood. Martin Peyton's blood. And you want to move in for the kill. You've been looking for just the right ammunition to use against Mr. Peyton for a long time. And now you think you've found it. Well, frankly, Mr. Harrington, I don't think I'd be interested in adding to your private arsenal, even if I could.
Stephen, when you came back to Peyton Place, I told you that I could only think of you as a little boy in knee pants. Well, I have an entirely different impression of you now.
You mean I'm in your way now?
I mean that when you came back with a man-sized appetite. You wanted your way in, and you bought your way in by convincing me to let you defend Rodney's life.
I've never denied that.
Then don't deny you're still after the same prizes.
I'm simply telling you I'm not interested in playing your game.
It isn't a question of whether or not my methods appeal to you, Stephen. Someone else is trying to buy their way in now. And slashing that portrait is a kind of method we can expect from them. What's wrong, Stephen? You came back to Peyton Place to make us all stand at attention. You came back with courage, anger, determination. Did a new house and marriage slow you down? It's too bad.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. You?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm not great, but I'm okay.
I'm just going to the hospital.
Well, I'll give you a ride.
No, thank you. I feel like walking.
Oh, come on. Take a chance.
No, really, I feel like walking. Thanks very much.
Look out! What's the matter with you? Have you forgotten that you were hit by a car a few months ago?
Why are you so angry?
I'm angry because you walked in front of that bus. I'm angry because you don't seem to care what happens to you.
Look, whatever happens, happens. It's not your responsibility, is it? Bye.
The sign's great. Want to take a look?
I'll take your word for it.
You want me to finish the labeling?
In a minute. Say, you've been going around all morning with your chin drooping clear down to your shoe tops. What's going on?
You don't miss anything, do you?
Not when my favorite clerk puts a sign on the apples saying rakes.
Sorry, Mr. Carson.
Norman, what is it?
Nothing. Rod and I got in a fight.
Well, that's not the end of the world.
No?
You've fought before.
Yeah, but this time's different. We usually patch things up right away.
You'll patch it up this time, too.
I don't think so.
Well, what makes this time so special?
I think we got a little too honest with each other. I mean, we've always been honest. But when you really care about someone, you hold back a little. You know?
I'm not so sure.
Well, Rod and I have always been in competition with each other. Not that we really wanted to. That's just the way it was. Up until now, everything's been a friendly rivalry. I mean, my passing arm's better than your passing arm. My toy soldier can lick your toy soldier, stuff like that. But now it's different. He's changed, and I've changed.
Well, sure you've changed. He's been through a murder trial, and you, well, you're married now with responsibilities.
Our family's so mixed up, you couldn't even go on a Sunday picnic without choosing sides. Dad and grandfather, grandfather and dad.
You don't respect what Rodney's doing, do you? Staying with your grandfather.
No. That's what got us in the ring in the first place. After I shot off my big mouth, well, Rod still had a few little tricks in his little bag. Like, how little brother about singing to Sing Sing. We just got too honest.
Norman, let me tell you something. Words sometimes makes you think there's more to a grudge than there really is. You know, that it's been brewing for a lifetime and all that. But that ain't so. Why don't you just put your hand out and talk this thing over?
Because if I put out my hand, he'd just break it in two. Rod always has to have the last word. Anyway, I think he should make the first move.
Norman, there's a saying in the good book that a brother that's put off is harder to win back than a city with a wall around it. Now, one of you boys better think about scaling that wall. Because if you don't, you won't find a ladder big enough to get over it.
I know.
You want to make up, but you won't back down.
Not today.
What? Hi. Early? Yes. I wanted to get here before any of the patients arrived. I want to apologize for the way I acted yesterday when you told me about Chris.
You don't have to apologize.
I walked out without a word. It's just that I didn't know what to say.
Well, how could you? The girl you were so anxious for Chris Webber to meet turns out to be the monster they all say caused his blindness. I was wrong to tell you because Chris Webber is your friend.
So are you, if you still want to be.
Allison, you've only heard my side of the story.
I don't have to take sides.
That's what you think now. I came back here to prove my innocence. Stephen Cord and I have had to raise a lot of questions. Questions that Chris and Lee Weber would rather have unanswered.
Chris was blinded so long ago. Don't you think it would be better if you could just leave it alone?
I can't. You've seen the scars in Chris's eyes. Well, I have scars, too.
Chris isn't bitter. He's learned to live with his blindness. I guess everybody has things in their past they learn to live with.
How could you know? With your nice, normal life.
My nice, normal life, as you call it, isn't as simple as you might think. To begin with, I'm illegitimate. Yeah, I wasn't told until last year. And I found out my whole childhood had been a lie. I refused to accept it. I hung on to what I wanted to believe.
You think I'm doing that? Well, it can't be over for me until I know.
Last Saturday night at the shoreline, Stephen Cord and Lee Weber got into a fight. Lee hit Stephen. I didn't know what it was about until now. And don't you see you're just reopening old wounds? You say you can't live with the guilt of having caused Chris's blindness. Do you think you can live with the guilt of the pain you're causing people now?
You weren't going to take sides. Finding out that isn't so easy. Allison, if you'd rather not continue working here, helping me in therapy, I'd understand. Would you like the volunteers to have you transferred to another department?
No.
Yes, hello?
Miss Colby?
Speaking.
I'm calling for Dr. Parker at Boston Memorial Hospital. Your father's here in critical condition. Can you come?
Yes.
Immediately?
Yes, immediately. Listen, I'm expecting the patient in a few minutes. Would you tell his doctor that I had to leave?